Do you want me to move over? Do you want to?
Nope, you're perfect.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Radio Show, only on Financial News and Talk. Now live in studio, your host, local and national real estate expert and consumer advocate, Ron Siegel.
And hello again. Welcome to Ron Siegel Radio. This is the show with no real boundaries as we discuss current events, financial markets, politics, sports, even poking fun at the rest of the media. This is the show that connects the dots of confusion, delivered by conflicting media reports. We connect the dots so you know the actions you can take, how your family or business can benefit from current events. Most of all, thank you for joining me. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day. We have a very focused show. We only chat about items that affect the roof over your head, your bank account, and anything I feel would benefit you. But before we get into our intriguing content today, please join me in welcoming our featured guest. And it's been a long time. Nancy Davidson is with us. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you very much. I'm so super excited to be on your show.
Glad to have you with us. And let me remind you, if you ever have any home or finance related questions, I am the consumer advocate looking out for you. And you can reach out to me directly, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. Just remember, that's the number you call anytime for assistance. When you call that number, it comes directly to me first. There are operators standing by.
Quiet, numbskulls. I'm broadcasting.
Well, I do have a great team when it comes to developing a financing plan, a plan to save you money. I personally work with you, even if you don't have any needs today. Save this number in your phone for future reference, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. And of course, we're celebrating today. We celebrate every day on Ron Siegel Radio. You know, and having beaten anorexia, National Trail Mix Day today. And I don't, that one looks pretty good, Josh. Josh got a better picture than they have online on the site here. I like trail mix. Get some fancy nuts in there and raisins, cranberries. Good stuff. Trail Mix Day. Let's see. International Overdose Awareness Day. South Carolina Day. No, thank you. Matchmaker Day. Anything I say is going to get me in trouble on that one. National Eat Outside Day. I like that. Eat outside, eat inside. It doesn't matter to me. Having, again, my size, you'll eat whenever it's convenient. National Eat Outside Day. Let's see what else. What's going on in the markets today? Oh, it's a rocky road. Not the ice cream, but it is a rocky road in the markets today. Now we're only up 17 points. Why is that? I'm going to tell you in a little bit. Dow Jones Industrial Average up 8.43. The NASDAQ is up 57. Oil is up 56 cents a barrel. Do we want to look? It's almost Friday. It's almost the weekend. So let's see what the gas prices are. $5.30 a gallon in California. $5.30. Josh, you're at 452, so it's you're bad, not as bad. Run around the horn. Jody's at 432. Brittany over there in Colorado, 396, and our tremendous underwriter Lori, 338 a gallon. But you have to be in Louisiana for that. So I guess there's trade-offs for everything, and that's going to be a big issue right now. There's no one talking about some of the things we're going to talk about today. No one else is talking about. And it amazes me that we don't hear it, because I'm a simple guy, but we watch some of these things that are going on. Oil prices are up. Now, why do I talk about some of these numbers? Well, the Federal Reserve is going to increase interest rates. Not in September. They'll do it in November. They're going to screw up like they always do. And you know my feeling about the Federal Reserve.
Idiot.
Yes. There are a bunch of idiots there. Well, now we're starting to see what the effects are of when they started raising rates. Now, they continue to raise rates every single meeting. Now, they take one or two off here and there, but they're raising them over and over again. And anybody that's ever dealt with the economy, done any kind of forecasting, and I will remind you, Jerome Powell has never done forecasting. He's a lawyer, just what you want running an economy. But in any event, they're continue to raise the rates, and we're now right around where we're starting to see between 8 and 12 months is when you start to see the effects of a Fed funds increase starts getting into the economy. Well, we've still got all these other rate hikes to be felt, and we're going to start seeing our economy take a big dive. Now, Jerome Powell doesn't want to say that. I'm going to say it, but here's the issue. Powell's worried about inflation. Well, he's worried about inflation, but here's the issue of that. Inflation is going to go up again. Why? Because we've seen a 25% increase in oil prices. Oil was down in the $60 a barrel range, and today when I just looked at it, just shared the number with you, we're at $82.27. That's going to filter into the economy. When's that going to filter into the economy? Oh, probably in November or December, just in time for the holiday season. So then we're going to start seeing Powell's going to say, well, we got to increase interest rates. Well, what's going to happen at that same exact time? Now, if you're in business, you've probably, or if you watch the business channel, you're seeing all kinds of comments and all kinds of ads for the employment credit, the employment retention credit, ECR. Well, a lot of companies are getting this money. What are they doing with it? They're banking that money. They're putting that money in and using that to offset, to subsidize the fact that business is dropping. It's slowing. They don't want to give up their employees, so they're using that money. Well, when that handout stops coming back from the government and they've used up the money, guess what's going to happen? They're going to have to start laying off people. When will that be? Oh, about November or December, the same time that inflation is going up. So Powell's going to then see, he's not only is he not orchestrating a soft landing, he's orchestrating a crash landing. And the economy is going to show those things. We're already telling you this, and I don't have 400 PhD economists working for me. We've got no budget. So the issue is coming up is we're going to see all of these things happening at the same time. How do I know what's going to happen? Well, we're already seeing through some of the labor reports, and we're going to get the big one tomorrow, but we're already seeing in some of the labor reports shrinking hours. That happens right before people start getting laid off. We're seeing certain companies, they're not laying anybody off. They're not doing the mass layoffs, but they're changing job assignments. And oh yeah, the new job assignment pays less money. So then the people will say, well, you know something? I might quit. So now they don't have to lay anybody off, but it'll start showing up in the first-time unemployment numbers. We're going to watch all of those because it's all coming. We can see it. The numbers are already there. It's just that we're on the very early edges of these issues. Now, will that hurt the housing market? Probably not. Why? Because there's only 6 reasons people are selling a house right now or buying a house right now. It's diplomas, diamonds, diapers, death, divorce, and default. We don't have any defaults. There's very little. I think there's less than 500 in all of Orange County. So we don't have a lot of the default. But does interest rates affect somebody that's getting divorced? Oh, yeah. I'm sure that this is going to be the issue. I'm sure every divorce attorney that's listening to us is going to come up with the same comment. I have all my clients come in. They've got a 3% mortgage. They're getting divorced, but they still want to live together, so they don't get rid of the mortgage. Does anybody really believe that? No. They're going to get rid of the mortgage. They're going to buy something because they have to. Same thing with the diapers. You had a family that bought a studio apartment or a studio condo right out of college, got married. The studio's okay for that. But now they've got a baby on the way. But is a 3% mortgage going to push the baby back in? No. They're going to need a bigger place. So those folks are going to continue to buy, but there's still not a lot of inventory out there. We're watching all of that for you. You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate, current events, and the financial markets. When we come back, how inflation affects the housing market. We will talk about that one. Does FAFSA affect your credit score? We'll talk about that one as well. And life coaching. I need a lot of coaching. I'm not sure Nancy's going to be able to help me on this one, but we're going to learn about it. You can reach me anytime. Our off-air number, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or RonSiegelRadio.com, Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube. Ron Siegel, the number 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio, your home and mortgage connection.
79% of all credit reports have errors that should be corrected through factual disputing. You could be saving thousands every year if your report was accurate. CreditSanitizer.com provides a free credit report audit when you furnish a specific $1 credit report. You can use this information to request corrections to your report and potentially save thousands of dollars. Get your free credit audit at CreditSanitizer.com. That's CreditSanitizer.com for a free credit report audit. CreditSanitizer.com.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. The Mortgage Minute today being brought to you by our friends at Geneva Financial. When you're ready for that next home loan, Geneva's got the programs and the products. You've got the phone. Make the call, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. And every day at this time, OBMMI. They provide the most comprehensive, accurate, timely, and interactive analysis of pricing ever conducted in the mortgage industry, calculated from actual locked rates. They don't tell us APR, points paid, points received, just the locked rates with consumers across 42% of all mortgage transactions nationwide. Looks like a lot of red on the screen from yesterday. I like the red on the screen. That means rates were down yesterday. May not be the case today. We'll look at it in a minute. 30-year conforming loans, 7.072. We've got jumbo loans. Those were up 7.436. 30-year FHA, 6.953. 30-year USDA, 6.976, and the best loan on the market for those that earned it, 6.709. And as I share every morning, if you want the earliest update, our commentary on what's going on in the markets, rsrmarketminute.com, rsrmarketminute.com. Just go to the site, register. We'll send that out to you free every morning. We try and get them out as early as we can. Let's see what the markets are doing today. 10-year Treasury down 3 basis points, 4.08. The S&P 500, that's pretty flat. It's only up 0.73. Mortgage-backed securities are up 17 basis points. That means the bond market, the rates are down a little bit, just a little bit. Why is this happening? Well, I told you a little bit of it in the last sector, but you know what happens today doesn't matter. And it's going to be fascinating to see what goes on because going into a long weekend, and the biggest report, economic report of the week, comes out tomorrow. So all of the traders are going to be gone by about 10 o'clock Eastern time. Well, we get the employment report, comes out at 8:30 Eastern time, 5:30 our time here on the West Coast. And that's going to drive the market, but it's going to be a lot of volatility tomorrow because traders are all gone. Today we got the personal consumption expenditures report. That's the Fed's favorite measure of inflation. Showed that inflation rose 0.2% in July after rising 0.2% in June. Now, multiply that out times 12. Does that come out to 2.4, if my math is correct? So if we held that 0.2 straight throughout, we'd be at the Fed, pretty much at the Fed's target rate. But no, they don't want to look at that. The reading was exactly as expected in pretty low monthly readings year over year. The index increased from 3% to 3.3 just because of how they're replacing older numbers or last 12 months ago numbers. So it's all in line. But the core rate, that's what the Fed focuses on. They take out food and energy because there's so many people that don't need food and energy. But that's what they take out anyway. Rose 0.2% last month, increased from 4.1 to 4.2. Also expected a slight bump higher, but again, it was all due to the comparisons from last year being low. Now remember, the gas prices, oil prices are all up, and they take that out, but they don't take it out of the cost of getting the eggs to the supermarket because there's going to be a fuel surcharge, and those eggs are going to cost more. Following the PCE release, CNBC had two analysts from Stifel and Morning Consult and it was like a session from Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels. The Stifel analyst said that because inflation has reversed higher on a year-over-year basis, the Fed needs to hike more. Have we talked about this before?
Such an idiot. Such an
Unbelievable
idiot.
how these people
Such an
just have
idiot.
no clue on what's going on. But, we have to deal with them anyway. But she doesn't understand that yearly increase only increased because of the comparisons. If you look at the last 5 months of readings, which really gives you a more current and relevant trend for what's happening with inflation, annualize it, we're at 2.2%. If you did the same exercise with core PCE, you would get an inflation rate of 3.2%. The analysts from Morning Consult said they believe inflation will remain high because home prices are moving higher again this year, and they are a huge component of inflation. Home prices are never contemplated in the inflation reports. Instead, they look at rents and imputed rents or owner's equivalent rent. It's amazing how these people just don't know what the heck's going on. That's the Mortgage Minute, brought to you by our friends at Geneva Financial. When you're ready for that next home loan, Geneva's got the programs and the products. Make the call, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. So let's chat. We're going to learn a little bit. I think we're going to learn a little bit. Maybe some of us, like me, might need a little more education. Nancy Davidson, Empowerment Pathways, life coach, life and business coach.
Life and business.
So what does a life and business coach do? Don't tell me coaching.
No coaching at all. No, so life and business coach. So on the life side of it is I help people that are struggling on a day-to-day, could be in relationships, anxiety, depression, or even a career change. So anything that has to do on a personal level of any struggles that you have in life, that is what a life coach does.
So you help deal with struggling people.
I do.
Interesting. So what kind of struggles would you be talking about?
So lately, I will tell you statistically what I've seen this year, there's a lot of people that want to do a career change.
Wow, okay.
Even people that have graduated from college, not knowing where to go, not knowing what they want to do after they graduated college.
So how do you help somebody with that?
So I analyze them first.
Okay.
Figure out like what's your passion? The most important thing is at any job or career, you have to love what you do.
Okay.
So regardless if you have a degree, what did you go to college for and what are you passionate about? So if you went to college, you want to be an attorney or a lawyer, you already know what you want to do. But if you're going to college just to get a degree and you really don't know what you want to do, that's where the confusion comes in.
Do most people go to college for that purpose, just trying to and don't know what they want to do?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So do they still, 100 years ago when I was in school, they used to I think it was the Marine Corps, might have been some branch of the military would always come in and they would do these assessment tests.
Yes.
They don't do that in school anymore, do they?
No, but I'm glad that you brought up the assessment test because that's what I give my clients. So when a client hires me, I give them 2 assessment tests.
Okay.
And it's the Colby test. It's not a test, assessment. And then the Clifton Strengths.
Clifton Strengths. Okay.
Yes. So basically what these 2 assessments help you with is to identify who you are as a person. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? And what career best fits you? But
what happens when you find that, when you go and you say, okay, the best career that fits me is, I don't know, let's just say plumber. Okay. But my mind says I want to go be a financial advisor.
Well, then you have to know what you're passionate about. So if your mind is saying you want to be a financial advisor, most likely you're going to be passionate about that than to be a plumber.
Okay. Interesting. Because I'm just using somebody that I know that they kind of cross, right? So they want to be a financial advisor, but they're not very good at test taking. And every prerequisite seems to flop, but they've got abilities in other areas too.
Well, going into it is testing. So if they're not a good test taker,
Right.
do you think that's a belief or a fact? It's your
Uh,
belief.
Well, that one, so far, it's proven to be a fact.
Wow.
Sometimes you get to be, they prove themselves, right? When you go and take enough tests and it doesn't work.
So, but if you're going into it thinking, you know what, I am not a good test taker, most likely you're not going to do well on that test because you're already focusing on, I am not going to do well on that test.
So you got to change the mindset.
That's one of the things we're going to talk about is mindset.
Okay.
100%.
So the mindset is where the issue comes in, and you have to have, that's where you need a coach.
Yes. So, and that's the other thing I help my clients with is your mindset. Your mind controls everything. If you are fearing that you don't have enough money in your bank account, or you're fearing that I'm going to get
my wife says I don't have enough money in my bank account for her shopping habits. Or is that a different subject?
That's a different subject.
Okay.
And so when you focus on that, you have this fear factor. So what your thoughts, what you think happens.
So it's kind of the self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yes. And so, a lot of my clients and when people come to me, they have the self-confidence issue too. Right?
Okay.
They don't have that self-confidence. They worry, they fear, they feel they're just not good enough. And you really have to focus on changing your mindset, because your mindset is your frequency of what you think about. So what you think about will occur. So you have to really train your mind that when you have that fear factor in your head and you're worrying, you have to remove it. Don't listen to that little self-talk. Get it removed and focus on the positive thinking.
So are you going to remove it, or are you going to divert it?
You're going to remove it.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, we're going to talk more about this because I still need a lot of help.
Yes.
You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate, current events, and the financial markets. When we come back, we're going to continue our conversation with Nancy Davidson, how inflation affects the housing market, and does FAFSA affect your credit score? All that and more. Reach me anytime. Off air number 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or RonSiegelRadio.com, Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube. Ron Siegel, the numeral 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Is your budget getting blown up with high prices of gas and increased costs for other household needs? This is Ron Siegel, host of the daily home and finance radio program. Did you know if you have a low interest rate mortgage along with auto debt, credit card debt, or student loans, your family could potentially save $500 or more per month by restructuring these debts? If you'd like a free Borrow Smart analysis with our team, let's book an appointment to see how we might be able to relieve some stress. Schedule an appointment at rsrbsa.com. That's rsrbsa.com for your free Borrow Smart analysis. rsrbsa.com.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. The real-time real estate segment today being brought to you by rsrmoney.com, rsrmoney.com. Great app, free to you. Monitor your credit score, your assets, your bank account, value of your property. It gives you 4 different valuations there from 4 different services, 3 good ones, and Zillow. And then it also has about 97% of the properties available for sale across the United States. All right there, rsrmoney.com. How inflation affects the housing market. Ever wondered how inflation impacts the housing market? Believe it or not, they're connected. Whenever there are changes to one, both are affected. Here's a high-level overview of the connection between the two. The relationship between housing inflation and overall inflation. Shelter inflation is the measure of price growth specific to housing. It comes from a survey of renters and homeowners that's done by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, BLS. The survey asks renters how much they're paying in rent and homeowners how much they'd rent their homes for if they weren't living in them. Much like overall inflation measures the cost of everyday items, the shelter inflation measures the cost of housing. And for 4 consecutive months, based on that survey, shelter inflation has been coming down. If you're watching us on RonSiegelRadio.tv, any of our socials, or the ABC News and Talk AM 1490 video feed, you're seeing a chart showing shelter housing inflation and how it's come back from, it was up at 8.2, now it's down at 7.7. Average is 4.1 over the long term. And we're heading back that way. We've told you before that this is a lagging indicator. Why does this matter? Well, shelter inflation makes up about 1/3 of overall inflation as measured by the Consumer Price Index, CPI. So when shelter inflation moves, it leads to noticeable moves in overall inflation. That means the recent dip in shelter inflation might be a sign that overall inflation could fall in the months ahead. That moderation would be a welcome sight for the Federal Reserve, the Fed. They've been working to get inflation under control since 2022. While they made some headway, it peaked at 8.9% in the middle of last year. They're still trying to get to their 2% goal. The latest report, 3.3%. Inflation and federal funds rate. What's the Fed been doing to lower inflation? They've been increasing the Fed funds rate. That the interest rate influences how much it costs banks to borrow money from each other. When inflation climbed, the Fed responded by raising the Fed funds rate to keep the economy from overheating. Another graph. Each time inflation shown in the blue line starts to climb, the Fed raises the Fed funds rate. That's the orange line to try and get it back to their target. Again, if you're watching this on RonSiegelRadio.tv. If you're not, go to Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube. We've got it all there. Or you can go to the archives of Ron Siegel Radio. And you can see where the Fed reserve rate actions and inflation, how they kind of go hand in hand. The circled portion of the graph shows the most recent spike in inflation. The Fed's actions to raise the Fed funds rate to fight that, and the moderation of inflation that happened in response to that hike. As inflation gets closer to the Fed's current 2% goal, they may not need to raise the Fed funds rate much further. So what does this mean for mortgage rates? While the actions coming out of the Fed don't determine mortgage rates, they do have an impact. As mortgage professionals, we talk about this all the time. Quote, mortgage rates and inflation are connected, however, indirectly. When inflation rises, mortgage rates rise to keep up with the value of the U.S. dollar. When inflation drops, mortgage rates follow suit. Guess what happens when mortgage rates drop? Real estate values go up. While no one can predict the future for mortgage rates, it's encouraging to see the signs of moderating inflation in the economy. Bottom line, whether you're looking to buy, sell, or just stay informed about the housing market, give me a call at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. We'll chat about it, see what this means for you. Again, that's the Real-Time Real Estate segment brought to you by rsrmoney.com. Chatting this morning, Nancy Davidson is with us, Empowerment Pathways. You've got a fan here, Nancy. I'm seeing that Sheena Marie loves Nancy.
All
Okay.
right. Hi,
Nice.
Sheena.
Okay, so we got a shout out for Sheena. Love Fest going on here. So let's chat more about this stuff that I know nothing about.
Yes, you do.
So life coaching. Now, we talked the last segment about life coaching. If you missed it, shame on you.
Yeah.
You should have been here. Because now we're going to talk about the business coaching side. Let's get into that side and tell me what you're doing in business coaching.
So I'll tell a little bit background on myself.
Okay.
As you know, been in the
I've only known you a day or two.
So I've been in the mortgage banking industry for 36 years.
Started at 3.
I know. It's an old fart. So during the times that I was been in this industry, I've worked all positions, right? And management has been my passion, and I love helping people, coach them, mentor them. And in the last 27 years, I've been in the, senior vice president, COO position. And what I've learned is culture is number one within a business. And it starts from the top. There are a lot of companies that don't follow. They may have a culture, but they don't follow that culture. And it's an extension of executives to management, however they are to their employees and to the organization is how it will trickle down to employees.
So give me an example of what would be culture.
Culture is looking at taking care of their people, having them, making sure that their employees feel empowered, that they feel fulfilled, that they want to wake up in the morning and want to go to work. And if your employees, if you don't ask your employees if they feel empowered or fulfilled, and if they're excited to wake up in the morning and come to work, you should ask them that question. Because if they're not, that's something that you need to look into within your organization and find out why. It's very powerful.
So when you talk about business coaching, so you're just dealing with the executive level then?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yes.
So they're gonna, and it's not that, does this correlate at all with the financial success of the company?
Yes.
It does.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. So what I do within the businesses is I work with the owners and executives, and I find out where their strengths and their weaknesses are. And then I will really dive into every aspect of the company. And then I will give them a report of this is what you currently have going on in your organization from top to bottom. And this is these are my suggestions of how we should make some changes. Now, not going in and changing the world is every organization, I believe, should have a coach because they're looking from the outside looking in, just like as an individual.
I was going to ask you that is how often is the management's perspective of what they believe is happening the same or differ from what the rank and file?
They're different. And as an example, one of the companies I worked for as a COO, I was very passionate about getting a coach and hiring a coach from the outside. And I did. And we worked with just our executive unit, the owner included, and our executive team. And we had meetings twice a month. And it was powerful because we've got to learn how we collaborate with one another, right? Sometimes not all managers and executives see eye to eye, right?
Yeah, that's
the majority of the time they
time.
don't.
And that's always bad though, is it?
No, not at all. But sometimes when you have the head buddy going on, it's not good for the organization.
That makes sense.
Right? So then
Headbutt behind closed doors.
Yeah, it's
right?
true. Because you and I, you can maybe a sales manager and I'm a COO and we may like each other, but we don't agree. And then we have our differences and we walk away from a meeting not resolving anything. And then what ends up happening? Then you end up talking to the owner and the owner's talking to this person and that person and there's talk and then it just goes down the wrong path. So making sure that everyone is on the same page is crucial.
So it almost sounds like you're an arbitrator.
No, kind of. No, but no, not really.
Well, you're listening to what each side has to say and then trying to coach them back to being on the same page.
And then what we do is once you do the executive coaching, then you trickle that down to employees for one-on-one coaching or team coaching. I do team coaching as well.
Wow. Okay. So that's a lot of stuff in there.
It is, but I don't overthink it.
How'd you switch over from being in the mortgage world for 35 years to coaching?
Great question. Thank you for asking that question. So I started coaching in 2019 as a roundtable meeting with just women.
Okay.
And executive women, different types of industries. And it was quite powerful. It was emotional and it was powerful. So during that time,
I was going to say something here. Women and emotional,
nice.
that's surprising.
I did. I also have my own podcast, and one of my episodes was talking about your character and emotions, how emotions really can take over your life.
Okay.
Right. So I know we're kind of going off to the side.
That's okay. We can do that.
Getting back
it's the fun part of being the host. You get to go whatever rabbit trail we want to.
Go left, go right. So the reason why I decided to do this full time, I stepped out of the mortgage industry So I did work for.
Stepped out of the mortgage industry when rates doubled. Jeez, isn't that surprising?
I know. It's such a roller coaster, right? But you know what? I love challenge. So last year, my husband and I and my family, we were going to move to Tennessee.
Well, you're going to move back to America.
Oh, Tennessee is beautiful. For anybody who has never been there, go to Tennessee. And so we were going to move out of state, and I was working for a phenomenal company. Loved them, great people, great owners. And so we were going to move. And then with the rates going up and things going, we just didn't know one day to the next. I was laid off, and I've never been in this situation. But I have to say that I was very grateful that I was. Even though we didn't move to Tennessee, I was okay, because I'm a believer of things happen for a reason.
Sure.
And I'm not shy about saying I was laid off. It was okay. You know, it was laid off. They took care of me, gave me a nice severance package. I told my husband, he's like, honey, you need to do your passion. You've been wanting to do coaching. You did it in 2019. Why not do it now? So I went full force. I hired a coach. I even have my own personal and business coach, Nicole Jensen. She is phenomenal. And so I hired her, and she helped me build my business. So then I have a whiteboard, have goals that I want to achieve. And I'm a very goal and driven woman. So I decided that I'm going to launch my business. I'm going to start a podcast. I'm in the process of writing a book.
Making lemonade out of lemons.
Yes.
Great information. We're going to continue our conversation with Nancy Davidson when we come back. You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate, current events, and the financial markets. You can reach me anytime. Our off-air number, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com, facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube, Ron Siegel, the numeral 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
79% of all credit reports have errors that should be corrected through factual disputing. You could be saving thousands every year if your report was accurate. CreditSanitizer.com provides a free credit report audit when you furnish a specific $1 credit report. You can use this information to request corrections to your report and potentially save thousands of dollars. Get your free credit audit at CreditSanitizer.com. That's CreditSanitizer.com for a free credit report audit. CreditSanitizer.com.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. 1990. The Your Credit Matters segment today being brought to you by CreditSanitizer.com. You have a credit report and it's wrong. What are you doing about it? Credit Sanitizer has these solutions for you. Our friends over at Blue Water Credit take great care of our friends at Ron Siegel Radio. Credit Sanitizer goes right over to their site. We just created that to make it easy. Does FAFSA affect your credit score? FAFSA is an application for financial aid that determines your eligibility. Everybody needs to complete a FAFSA form. Yes, I said everybody. Even if you don't think you're going to get any money, you need to create the FAFSA form. And we'll talk more about that, I think, in the next couple of weeks. Chris Bissonette's going to come on, and we'll chat about this more. The application will not appear on your credit report and does not affect your credit score. You graduated high school? I hope. You put in a lot of hard work to get that degree, and you deserve to celebrate. This might be your last summer of freedom. But that doesn't mean you don't have any responsibilities to take care of. If you haven't submitted the FAFSA, a crucial step toward receiving financial aid or taking out student loans, now is the time to buckle down and get to work. Even if you don't think you'll qualify for financial aid, get familiar with the FAFSA form or hire somebody to do it for you. That's the way I find it much easier. Understanding its potential impact on your credit score and financial future, and submitting an application. Here's what we talk about all the time on these things. The FAFSA is the gateway to all sorts of financial aid, grants, loans. We don't like the loans. That's not the idea. And don't forget, if you do have loans, you're going to have to start making payments October 1. If you want to minimize the payments, rsrstudentloanhelp.com, rsrstudentloanhelp.com. And I did share with you one person individual went from $1,004 a month to $334 a month just by filling out the forms on rsrstudentloanhelp.com. So what's the FAFSA? It stands for Free Application for Student Aid. It's the one-stop application for all the federal student loans, grants, work-study opportunities, financial aid sponsored by the U.S. government. Again, do not refinance your student loans if you've already got them. Don't go to SoFi. It's gonna hurt you immensely, and you'll never be able to recover from it. So, does the FAFSA affect your credit score? No, not until you get student loans, and then it might affect your credit score. And if you don't pay the student loans, it will definitely affect your credit score. Does financial aid show up on your credit report? No, doesn't show up. Again, unless you get the student loans and you don't pay them. That's the issue right there. So be careful. Get these things done. And, again, it's not that hard. It's like filling out a tax return, though. You can put the wrong information in there and get bad results. Give you a quickie. So I know one individual, were filling out a FAFSA form and asked, what's the value of your home? So they put market value. It's logical, right? They went on rsrmoney.com. They probably went to Zillow and got the wrong value, but they should have gone to rsrmoney.com and they can see what the value of their property is. But that's not what they want on the FAFSA form. They want the assessed value. If they would have put the assessed value in, it would have dropped their rating by about $1 million, the net worth by $1 million. Think about that concept and what that might mean to financial aid, grants, all those good things right there. Have someone do it for you that knows what they're doing. That is Your Credit Matters, brought to you by creditsanitizer.com. You have a credit report and it is wrong. What are you doing about it? Continue our conversation this morning. We are chatting with Nancy Davidson, Empowerment Pathways, life and business coaches, and now podcaster.
Yes.
What's your podcast?
At Empower with Nancy. So I'm on Spotify and Apple.
Okay. At Empower with Nancy.
Yeah, it's just Empower with Nancy.
It's really creative. You're about as creative as I am.
No. You have to be creative. But you know what? You just have to have fun. Be yourself. Just have
What
fun.
am I going to learn if I listen to the podcast?
You're going to learn all kinds of things. So my podcast isn't just about one specific thing.
Okay.
It's your self-confidence, your limiting beliefs, I talk about business and I talk about life coaching. And I already have two people that were guests on my podcast, Justin Breen and Dr. Doreen Rivers. And so I have about 4 other guests coming on that just really educating people.
It's fun when you get to just go out and do a program that's just about education, not expecting anything in return.
Right. It's so what I've learned over the years, I'm literally passionate about paying forward. Right.
Okay.
And I'm constantly, everybody, education is key. Reading, listening to podcasts really, truly helps you. That's what I've done over the many, many years because you don't, first of all, I like challenge and I like to learn. So if you don't like to learn, try to pick up a book that interests you and then it takes off from there.
So when you're talking about doing business coaching, do the same principles apply to all businesses or do you focus just on specific markets when you're doing business coaching?
No, it's any business. It doesn't mean because I've had the banking and finance background. It's any business. Any business should have the same follow through. That doesn't mean that I'm going to coach and every business is different. As I go in with the same strategy And I work with that strategy with every business.
Wow. So it applies cross platforms.
Absolutely.
Interesting. So and it kind of ties into what we said. I don't know what we were talking about a few days ago, where when the CEO of, and again, I don't remember which way it went, but it was the individual went either from Nabisco to IBM or IBM to Nabisco.
It's all the same.
And the CEO of they're completely different industries.
There is. Mm-hmm.
But the principles of managing people, I guess, is the same.
Bingo.
So
Yes.
it's all about understanding that portion of it.
Absolutely. It's communication and understanding people.
Well, the communication is probably the biggest issue. Then I would think.
100%.
Interesting. So what are some of the biggest roadblocks you see people have right now?
So lately, it's been people are so stressed out. And why do you think that they're stressed?
Turn on the TV.
There you go.
That's all it takes.
There you go. We're constantly living in our phones. We look at reels. We look at, other people's profile that, oh my goodness, they're living a better life than I'm living. And I want to get what they have or I want to have what they have.
Is that about as stupid as it could possibly be?
But you know what, Ron? Everyone focuses on the negative in people's lives. They don't see the positive.
Well, do they focus on the negative in people's lives, or do they focus on the negative in their life? And because one of the things I chuckle about,
Both.
Yeah, I kind of chuckle because you'll see people on social media and they're sharing that they're at this great restaurant or this great destination or this beach or going to a ball game or going to a concert, and it all looks fun and glamorous. No one really focuses on, I just got a speeding ticket, or I got a flat tire, or I got in an argument with my child. That stuff doesn't make social media real life.
It doesn't. And so I'm glad you brought that up, because that is what I'm about. When I post content, it's content. When I do a reel and I do a story, I'm myself. When I'm coaching somebody, I am myself. I don't portray someone that I'm not. So I will say things. I'll talk about some of the challenges that I've gone through, because people need to understand who I am, right? Good,
sure,
bad, or ugly.
It's hard to value somebody
Mm-hmm.
if you don't connect, or you don't believe that they're real, if they're not authentic.
Right. The other thing I tell my clients is, I cannot tell you what to do, but I will guide you and I will mentor you. I will put you under my wing and I will help you as much as I can. But do not hire me as if you are not fully dedicated on making a change in your life.
That's the big issue right there, isn't it?
Yes.
How do we reach you?
I am all over social media, at Empower with Nancy on Instagram. My website is Empower with Nancy. Everything's Empower with Nancy.
Empower with Nancy all over. Okay, great information. And if you're not in a place where you can write this down, you do know my number. I'm here every day at this time, so you can call me. I can put you in touch with Nancy Davidson. Appreciate you coming in.
Thank you so much.
And as always, I ask, set that first radio preset button to come back here and join Ron Siegel Radio, where we only speak about items affecting your house and your bank account. Thanks to all of our sponsors. A big thanks to Josh and Sean who are engineering us today. And of course, a special thanks to you for spending a little bit of your day with us. That's all for Ron Siegel Radio. Again, if you have any questions or to meet any of our guests, call me anytime. 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. And remember, make a lot of money so you can help a lot of people and have a lot of fun. Have a great day. We'll talk to you next time on Ron Siegel Radio.
That was fun. That was awesome.
I'd like to call him something. I think I'll just call it a day.